Hey everyone, this is Shannon Roddy from Marketplace Seller Courses, and in this video I'm going to walk you through everything you ever wanted to know about GS1 UPCs on Amazon, including some of the common challenges and obstacles and how to overcome those, as well as benefits and opportunities and how to leverage them. So the first section we're going to talk about how Amazon uses UPCs, and in order to do that we're going to start off with some pretty simple definitions. The first is a GTIN, which just stands for Global Trade Item Number. It's basically a way that a company can identify its products on a global scale. And two of the most common GTINs are UPCs, which stands for Universal Product Code, used primarily here in the US, as well as EAN, which is a European article number, obviously used in Europe and elsewhere around the globe. Now, in terms of how Amazon uses UPCs, there's three sort of main components to it. The first is to create new listings on the Amazon platform. Two, it is to identify the owner of the listing. And three, it is used to track inventory sent to FBA or fulfilled by Amazon. So the first thing you'll notice when you go to create a listing is Amazon is now doing what's called UPC validation. So Amazon is checking the validity of the UPC, the product ID, by GS1 against their database. And if it's not registered with GS1, then the ASIN is probably going to be suppressed and may result in removal of product creation privileges. We'll talk about why that is in a second. But Amazon's basically now validating that the UPC codes are registered with GS1 in order to ensure that they are valid GTINs. In terms of the UPC owner validation, this is a secondary step that's a little more recent. GS1 and Amazon are working together, and Amazon is now checking to make sure that the company who is uploading the UPC to create a new product on Amazon is also what's called the UPC company prefix owner. And what that means is that the Amazon legal entity, so the legal entity field in your Amazon Seller Central account, needs to match the GS1 company prefix owner. In some cases, Amazon will strip out the ink and check it both ways to make sure that if you forgot to leave or put the ink on in one of those sections, it'll still validate. But it's also really critical to note that reseller UPC codes are no longer going to validate on the Amazon system due to this. So it's really critical that you purchase your UPCs directly from GS1 and make sure that you stay up to date with your registration in order to maintain the ability to create new listings using your active UPCs on Amazon. So these are some of the common UPC issues that we see on Amazon. Number one is we see a lot of sellers creating fake UPCs. So these are companies or individuals, in some cases private label, in some cases resellers, who simply don't want to purchase a UPC code. So in effect, up until now, they were able to just make up a UPC code. Sometimes it matched a company's prefix, sometimes it didn't, and we'll talk about what that looks like. But in any case, there's a lot of ASINs on Amazon, listings on Amazon that just have fake UPCs. So they don't actually exist, they're not actually registered anywhere. They were just the right number of characters, and Amazon formally had allowed those into the system. The second one is sellers hijacking an ASIN or a UPC. And so what this means is the UPC code is valid and represents an actual product, but the reason we most often saw this was because somebody would find an old listing that no longer had any active sellers on it, but had a lot of product reviews. And what they would do is they would attempt to take over that listing, add their own images, update the title and product features and so forth, and be able to sell on that listing with a parent number of real product reviews. Obviously, this is not recommended, and it can and will probably get you suspended from Amazon, so certainly not recommended, but something to be aware of, and we'll talk about in the next section how to deal with it if you have a UPC code that you own hijacked by another seller. Lastly, we saw a lot of sellers merging multiple UPCs. And so again, if there were multiple listings of a product on Amazon, in some cases they were listed with UPC exemption. In some cases, as we mentioned, they were listed with a fake UPC or a reseller UPC, and they were discovered that they were all technically the same product. Again, formerly sellers were able to merge those duplicate ASINs, and it would show up with a detail page that had multiple UPC codes attached to it. Of course, that's no longer the case. You can't do that. Amazon is not necessarily unmerging those, but requesting multiple merges of ASINs with different UPC codes is probably not likely, and we'll talk about that in the next section as well. The other way that Amazon uses GS1 UPCs is for the manufacturer barcode. So when you utilize Fulfillment by Amazon or FBA, you're able to send products in. And there's two ways that Amazon will allow you to do this. The first is Amazon Label, and that is where Amazon either requires you to apply a label to your product over the barcode, or you can send your products in and pay Amazon a fee to apply that label over the barcode for you so that Amazon can inventory and keep track of all of your units that you want to sell. So that basically ties, the Amazon label essentially ties your products, your UPC code, to your seller account so that Amazon knows that it's your product. In some cases, Amazon allows what's called manufacturer barcode. This means that there's no restrictions on the product. It's typically not allowed for hazmat products and certain topical products. But in some cases, they do allow manufacturer barcode, which means you don't have to put on an Amazon label. You can just allow the barcode that is on the product already to be scanned in once it gets to the Amazon warehouse, and they will use that to fulfill inventory when it gets shipped out or when a customer orders. There's some issues with what's called commingling, where a manufacturer barcode will be used by multiple sellers, in which case Amazon will essentially share their inventory. So that can be problematic. If you face any issues, you might want to move to Amazon barcode, but that's essentially how it works. And if you can do manufacturer barcode, if you've got a stable product and no unauthorized sellers or counterfeiters, it's usually a great opportunity to save some money on labeling either on the warehouse side or on the Amazon side. All right, in this section, we're going to talk about controlling Amazon listings and why that's so important and what that looks like. The first is Amazon brand registry. So what we see is Amazon brand registry actually working in conjunction with GS1 UPCs to control the detail page and to create new listings. So formerly, you were able to upload a product with any brand name, and that was allowed. Now Amazon is actually requiring what's called brand exemption or brand registry, meaning you have a registered trademark for the brand that you are attempting to upload. So Amazon is essentially cross-referencing all of this information. If you have a UPC and you've got a brand registry, Amazon's checking the UPC to make sure that you're the owner, and they're checking brand registry to make sure that you own the brand for the products that you're attempting to list. So you don't have to require your company prefix or anything when you apply for brand registry, but they will ask if you have brand registry. And even though you can apply for G10 exemption, we do not recommend it because using a UPC code in conjunction with brand registry does allow you to be able to control the listings much more accurately. If Amazon ever asks a question about why you need to make a change, they may ask for a manufacturer page on your website along with the UPC code. If you do not have one, it's going to be more difficult to show that is your listing. So as I mentioned in the first section, one of the things that we see occasionally happen is a seller or reseller will hijack an ASIN along with its manufacturer UPC code and attempt to use it for their own purposes. If you notice this happen, there's typically two ways that it happens. You either come across that listing with your UPC code, or more likely you attempt to upload one of your products and you find that Amazon says, oh, there's actually different information on this listing and you need to go ahead and change your information to match what's existing. Of course, what's existing is a completely different product that doesn't match your product at all. And if you realize whether the listing is active or inactive, if somebody else has used your GS1 UPC to create a listing, you can follow this process to get your hijacked ASIN back. The first thing you're going to do is contact Amazon's catalog team and file a case. You're going to go ahead and make sure you save that case. You're going to reference it later. In some cases, they will also ask for a photo of the product, or the back of the product, showing the barcode. So you can provide that as well. And they're going to check that UPC against GS1 records, again, to verify who the owner is. And so this is kind of how the process works. You're going to collect all of the hijacked listing details. So again, the ASIN along with the UPC code are the main ones. If there's a seller who's active on it, you can mention that as well. But again, that's going to be a little less relevant. It's mostly about the detail page. Report the violation with Amazon. And then you're going to take the next step, which is submitting a request to GS1 US member support. And so the phone number and email address are available here. And they're going to work in conjunction with Amazon to be able to go ahead and resolve that process. So what we see happen at this point is GS1 will then escalate that hijacked UPC with Amazon's internal team designated to handle this. The first thing they're going to do is actually run a UPC prefix audit, which means they're not just going to check that UPC code, but they're going to run your company prefix against all of the listings on Amazon. And in some cases, if there's multiple brands, they're going to confirm all of the associated brands listed with UPC codes under your company prefix. So we did this with a company and found several brands that we were completely unfamiliar with, and we were able to let them know which ones were ours and which ones were not. And they were then able to go through and release all the validated UPCs from those ASINs that had different brand names or for different products, had been hijacked for different products, so that we could then use them to upload our correct products into Amazon. So they didn't shut down the ASINs. All they did was remove the UPC code from those ASINs, allowing us to use it on our correct listing. Section 3, we're going to talk about increasing Amazon sales using UPC codes. It is possible. The first way we can do that is by creating multi-packs. So formerly we used to see that Amazon would allow us to create a multi-pack by using the original barcode or manufacturer UPC code for the product and just put in the quantity. So whatever the barcode was on the back, we would just add that as the UPC code and say we're selling 2 of these or 7 of these or 12 of these. That's no longer the case. Amazon is now requiring a unique UPC code for each ASIN. So the same UPC code can only be associated with one ASIN. And that means that you're going to need to create unique UPC codes for multi-packs. The downside for this, what made it so beneficial the former way, was that if a customer was in store and happened to scan a barcode of a product using the Amazon app, it would actually pull up all the individual listings and the multi-pack listings that contain that UPC code. So it was a great benefit to be able to highlight the products available in multi-pack on Amazon. Now you're going to need to go ahead and create a unique UPC code. And then you're still going to put in the quantities for each of those: item package quantity, number of items, and each unit count will typically all be the same. And there's also a process for generating those UPC codes as multi-packs, or in some cases, case packs for use on Amazon. So you can connect with GS1 to make sure those are generated correctly in order to list them correctly on Amazon. The other way that we can increase sales on Amazon using UPCs is by creating a unique UPC code for a product bundle. So in this case, if we sell air purifier and 2 air filters as a bundle together, you're going to need to create a unique UPC code to represent all 3 of those products. Amazon does require a unique UPC code for those, and the products must be sold together and refunded together. But you can typically find out which products are good to bundle by looking under your product images and seeing which products are frequently bought together. So if you have products that are frequently bought together, it's a pretty good indication that you could offer them as a bundle, and typically at a little bit of a discount, which not only will increase the average order value for you, but also decrease the price for the customer, creating added value and convenience and allowing you to sell that bundle more profitably, typically using FBA. Now, the other thing that we're going to look at is the aspect or element of merging duplicate ASINs. So typically what we see is, as I mentioned earlier, products can be created, almost any way, whether it's UPC exemption or reseller UPC code, or in some cases a made up UPC code. That's what allows for the multiple listings or duplicate listings on Amazon. If a customer or a seller were to put in a UPC code creating a new product that already existed, Amazon would find that original ASIN and just recommend that the seller sell on that existing ASIN. Sometimes, again, sellers will want to have their own listing so they can drive traffic to it, in some case increasing the price. It creates a lot of clutter and confusion for Amazon customers though, and is really bad for brands. So it's important to monitor that and enforce distribution. But essentially what we can have is a platform where multiple ASINs exist that essentially represent the same product. So the primary reason to merge duplicate ASINs is in order to aggregate positive product reviews, or in some cases to merge ASINs with high sales velocity. So even if there's not a lot of reviews, but they do have a lot of sales velocity, that might be beneficial for you as the brand owner to merge those ASINs together. If you have a lot of duplicate ASINs that have no product reviews and not a lot of sales, we actually don't recommend merging those ASINs. It can create more complications and problems than benefits. In particular, it can be difficult to control the listing. In some cases, Amazon won't merge the listings. The better solution for that is just to do distribution enforcement, which means removing unauthorized resellers from those listings, and eventually they drop out of search results, creating a cleaner user experience for Amazon customers. So if you do have two products that are the same and you want to merge those, you can look at the different criteria here. Ironically, Amazon requires that the two ASINs have the same UPC code, but of course, that's a little redundant. If they did, Amazon would typically have just referred the second seller who tried to list that to the first ASIN. So it's pretty rare that you have two ASINs with the same UPC code, though it does happen. More likely than not, they're going to have no UPC code due to UPC exemption or a reseller UPC code. So you may have difficulty getting Amazon to merge these, but you can certainly request it. They do have to have the same package quantity, the same product brand, and the same physical attributes. So obviously it's helpful the more information that matches in order to convince Amazon to merge those. But again, the only reason you'd want to really do a merge is if you had positive sales velocity or product reviews that you were hoping to aggregate, and the target ASIN is the ASIN that you want to keep as the main one, and you will merge all the other ASINs into that target ASIN. Now expanding into Amazon Global, so depending on where you're based, Amazon Europe, it could be Amazon Japan, which is the third largest and fastest growing marketplace. Great opportunity to expand here, but I want to talk about how UPC codes play into this, and in particular how ASINs show up globally. So for example, if you have the same ASIN created by the same UPC code, an Amazon UK listing is going to show the Amazon.com reviews until it starts to generate some of its own. So for example, we could see here, great air purifier, and then it will actually say reviewed in the United States on such and such date. So the way it works is if you're going to list a product in another country, you have to first consider whether or not you want to issue a unique UPC code for that. So this should help make that decision. If you are creating new packaging, specifically packaging in the local language, that's going to be really important typically to issue a new UPC code for, which means you're going to create a unique ASIN that will not share product reviews. If you're going to be selling the same product, you can go ahead and use the same UPC and the same ASIN, but note that Amazon will also share the images for all ASINs globally. So we pull up the same ASIN on Amazon.com in the US. It's going to have that infographic that has text on it in English. It's going to show that same graphic on Amazon Japan. So this is sort of a downside or a challenge with this, as Amazon, when they rolled it out, did not expect, I guess, as many sellers to use infographics with text on it, because Amazon will share the images across all listings. There's no problem updating the title in the local language. So if you're listing in Amazon France, for example, to do the title in French or the product features in French, even the A+ content you can do in multiple languages. There's no issue there, but it will share product images. And so if you do have a lot of infographics, that may be a consideration in terms of expanding globally. You might want to issue new UPC codes that will then generate new ASINs and allow you to create infographics specific for that local language. It does mean, again, that you will not have any product reviews associated with it, but it's going to be better and easier to control the images and infographics on that listing. The last section that we're going to talk about is UPCs and price parity. So this is a pretty critical aspect of selling on Amazon, whether you're on Vendor Central or on Seller Central. Amazon has what are called AmaBots that will essentially go out and scour the internet and look for the product UPC code on your ASIN or on your listing and see if it finds it for a lower price off Amazon. Amazon's goal is, of course, to always have the lowest price anywhere. And this means that anybody who is selling your product, whether it's sort of a random reseller or maybe another retailer selling at a discount, if Amazon finds it off Amazon at a lower price, they're typically going to do one of two things. If you're on Vendor Central, Amazon is going to lower the price to match or beat that price. This can definitely hurt with brand equity and map pricing, especially if you have other retailers who are looking to Amazon and going off of their lowest price. And on Seller Central, if you're selling 3P, Amazon will typically penalize you by removing the buy box. This means that you cannot run advertising, at least not sponsored product listing advertising on this listing, and it will just say available from these sellers. They will also send you typically a health notification letting you know that you should reduce the price, which of course, as a brand owner, you may or may not want to do. But essentially, Amazon is penalizing you for somebody selling the same product off Amazon at a lower price. There's a couple different ways you can look at this. Different manufacturers and sellers will make different decisions based on that. Obviously, we recommend price parity across all channels. The MSRP versus MAP is sort of going away, as customers can pretty much look up any product they want to on their phones and get instant pricing across all channels. So if they find the same price everywhere online and in retail, it allows them to purchase wherever they feel most comfortable, or especially in retail, wherever they're located locally. This is pretty much good for the brand owners. It's great for retail. It means that you're not going to get undercut by prices lower online than in store, and will make your retailers and big box buyers happy. In some cases, brands and manufacturers simply issue unique UPC codes for the products that they list on Amazon. And it's simply a matter of understanding that if a customer, again, is in store and scans that UPC code on their Amazon app, that your product will not show up. So those are things that need to be taken into consideration with Amazon. The goal is to make sure that you are able to sell the product at the price that you want and on the platforms that you want without any interference from Amazon or any other third-party sellers. So in summary, recommendation is license a GS1 UPC prefix directly from GS1 US as opposed to purchasing reseller UPCs. Number 2, use UPCs correctly on the Amazon platform. Number 3, make sure you monitor and retain control of your UPCs. And if you find hijacked UPCs, that you're able to take control of them again so that you're able to list your products correctly. Use them to create multi-packs and bundles. And lastly, to expand into Amazon globally. If you have any questions or would like to learn more about our Amazon Brand Success Academy, designed to empower brand owners to successfully launch, grow, and protect their brands on the Amazon platform, you can visit us online at marketplacesellercourses.com. And of course, if you enjoyed this video, please feel free to subscribe and hit the bell icon to get notified when we release new videos. And again, thank you so much for watching.